We're pleased to welcome now Dr. Carr McClain, a cardiovascular surgeon at Forest General Hospital, and we will be joined momentarily by Sherry Owings. So, Dr. McClain, we wanted to have you on to talk about this stuff called Kratom. I don't know that a lot of people, I was at breakfast with a bunch of folks this morning, and most people aren't familiar with it. Tell us about this substance and its application and use.
So Kratom is a naturally occurring plant. It's native to Southeast Asia. It has been used there for decades, even centuries, by hundreds of thousands or even millions of people. Kratom is related, the plant is related to the coffee plant. And one of its widest uses in Southeast Asia forever has been in low doses as a pick-me-up to help people get through a workday.
Huh.
Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
At somewhat higher doses, it has a lot of applications essentially as a folk remedy. It has for years for pain and for various GI maladies. Kratom has become more popular in America relatively recently. And as you said, a lot of people in this country have no idea what it is. Unfortunately, that hasn't prevented governments all over the place from simply knee-jerk outlawing it. The most common use for Kratom in America is that people use it as either an alternative to opioid pain medicine or as a drug that helps them get off of opioid addiction.
Okay.
So this is a drug that lessens harm to a far greater extent than it does any harm. Kratom is not like heroin or fentanyl or like any other narcotic in the way it works. Kratom does not fully activate the receptor in your brain that depresses respirations, which is the cause of opioid overdoses. Nobody dies from a Kratom overdose. There is not a single reported death from a Kratom overdose in over 100 years of reporting in Southeast Asia.
Interesting. So you shared before we went on the air that you've been down at the Capitol this morning.
Yes.
And so what's that all about? Are you looking to promote some sort of legislation that perhaps would loosen the restrictions on this product?
Loosen? No, actually. So At the moment, Kratom really isn't regulated at all. And you can go into a gas station and just buy it.
Okay.
And what you buy at least is manufactured by a company with a name and you know what you're getting. But the issue now is that governments all over the country are trying to figure out what to do with this drug. And the government here is one of them. A number of counties in Mississippi went ahead and outlawed it. The state government is now looking at different bills and has looked at different bills to try to bring some uniformity into the way that Kratom is regulated in this state. And our first, when I say our, I mean people like me who are against the drug war, but our first goal was certainly to try to dissuade them from banning the drug and sending it to the black market where it would truly become a harmful substance. The bill in question in the legislature right now that we're actually advocating for is one that would essentially treat Kratom like alcohol and cigarettes, that it would make the buying age 21, it would put it behind the counter in stores. It would allow adults to have access to this to use as they wish and would not allow kids to buy it. We're not asking anybody to reinvent the wheel. We're asking them to treat this herbal supplement the way we treat essentially coffee, alcohol, and cigarettes.
Okay, so just to make sure I understand, a minor could purchase this product over the counter today.
Today, that's the problem.
Okay,
yeah.
So you're advocating for legislation that would, I guess, restrict it more in line, as you said, with alcohol and tobacco.
Yeah, we'd like to see free adult use, not kids.
Okay. So are there objections to that? I can't imagine why there would be.
Because an awful lot of people have been fed a lot of misinformation about the nature of this drug. Another doctor was on last week, not on this show, but in an article in one of the papers last week, claiming that Kratom is the next phase of the fentanyl epidemic. That's just outrageous. The drugs are far different from each other, and it's that kind of misinformation that I think has led, again, a knee-jerk reaction in a lot of places to simply ban this.
Okay.
It's like, oh, it's a drug. Some kids might get it at a gas station. Well, gee, let's just make it illegal. That'll fix it.
So is that what our legislature's considering? Is total ban?
They right now have stepped away from that, and
okay.
I desperately hope that it'll stay that way.
Okay. Well, I want to bring in Sherry Owings. She is a Kratom user. Hey, Sherry, thanks for coming in. Get a little closer there. Yeah, you're good. So how long you been using this substance?
7 years, 2 months.
And for what purpose?
Well, I got it. My husband bought it for me for pain because I've had pain all my life. I've got scoliosis. I've been some wrecks and got some bad nerve damage. I've got 6 bulging discs in my neck. So I'm just a lifetime of pain. For over 30 years, I took pain medication.
Okay.
Every day of my life. Every 4 hours, I had to take my pain medication or I'd be back in severe pain. In 2011, the FDA was cracking down so bad during that time that my doctor had to cut my pain medication by 85%. And even cut my Valium that I'd been on since I was 18 years old. I couldn't even get that anymore. Around the same month, my daddy had a real bad stroke, and he became my child that day. I'm only child, so I had to take care of him, and my husband was diagnosed with Parkinson's 6 months earlier. So I had to take care of both of them. Doing that, it was very stressful, just a lot on me. They were both living in my home, solely depending on me. So during the day, I had my 2 little pain tablets I could take, but at night, I was still hurting, just terrible panic attacks, terrible because my Valiums were gone. So I started drinking wine at night instead of medicating. Quickly, that moved into vodka because it was quicker. By the age, I'll be 62 next week. By the age 47, I've become a full-blown alcoholic, never even been a drinker. So further on down the line, 7 years I drank with my daddy in my house. He ended up having another stroke, and I had to move him into a nursing home. I come into a deep depression because I felt like I was a failure. My husband, and I wanted to quit drinking. I checked myself into rehab after my dad left. I went to rehab 3 times in 2017. Every time I got back out, they took all my pain medications. By then I couldn't get anything because I'd told that I was drinking. So I was just left with the alcohol, and it's all over the place. But my husband found Kratom online December and bought it for me. So it came in the mail December the 26th, and after Christmas, and I took it. Within 30 minutes, my pain had just melted away. And I wasn't groggy like a pain pill would do me. When it come time for my drink that day, I had a set time because I was trying to quit. Before my shake started and everything, it was time for my drink. I didn't want it. I wasn't shaking. So I took some more Kratom instead of them. I'd never had no more withdrawals. It took my shakes away. It just totally changed my life. After that day, I stopped craving alcohol. My withdrawals were gone. And it helped my pain. It helps clear my mind. It totally changed my life. So, I'm off of all medications now.
So you feel like that Kratom essentially replaced these other drugs like Valium and opioids as well, I assume?
Yes.
Okay, which are highly addictive, right? And could be a problem, and still as effective in controlling and mitigating pain, I assume.
Oh, absolutely. It's better. For me, it's better. I can do more things now just with Kratom that I could not do taking the pain medication.
And then also caused you to rely less and I guess to have less of an urge to consume alcohol.
Right.
Is that true?
Right. Absolutely. Okay. I was trying a whole year. I tried a whole year to quit. Like I said, I went in and out of rehab. I mean, I was really, really trying, but the withdrawals were so bad and the craving for it.
Gotcha.
But
we got a break right now, but you guys can hang on. We'll come back for another segment and continue this. I wanted to ask you, Dr. McClain, on the other side of the break, if Sherry's situation is typical if the same sort of results you have seen, the medical community has witnessed, for example, with the use of kratom to fight pain and maybe deal with some other ailments or addictions as well. We're coming right back in the Element Well studio. Stay with us. With Dr. Carr McClain, cardiovascular surgeon, Forest General Hospital, and Sherry Owings, a Kratom user. So I was just asking you before we went to break, wanted to think about this and get your response to this, I should say. Dr. McClain, is Sherry described her story. It sounds like this substance, supplement as you call it, I guess, is working out well for her to control her pain and helped her with her alcoholism or her craving for alcohol on a daily basis. Is that a typical situation? Is this an application for kratom? And have you seen other pain patients, for example, that have adopted kratom and are utilizing kratom to treat their pain and deal with these other issues?
Personally, I've not, but that's the nature of my subspecialty. But here's the important point about Sherry. Sherry's experience with kratom should be between her and her doctor. And kratom is essentially an herbal remedy at this point. This is not something that the medical community has rigorously researched up and down. This is not a drug that would be fit for prescriptions right now or anything like that. But there are thousands of people like Sherry that have had that experience. And the point to be made is that is between Sherry and her physician, is who it should be. The cops and the state and the government have no business practicing medicine. And whether or not kratom ever becomes something that is prescribed or becomes a formal part of the medical arsenal the way that I prescribe, pain medicine after I operate on somebody, time will tell. But none of that is a reason to outlaw it and to take that option away from adults. Kratom ought to be Sherry's choice, not mine, not the government's. And any issues that she has with it should be between her and her physician.
Sherry, if someone approached you that knew you were taking kratom and had similar issues that you do, similar ailments, pain, maybe the pain caused them to consume more alcohol, and that was causing a problem for them, both physically or even just socially or productively. Would you recommend to them kratom as perhaps an option, an alternative?
I have actually. I've got family members. We've got a lot of alcoholics in my family. I have actually gotten people sober, introducing them to kratom. I've got two of my family members now. They're older like me, and they take it for their pain, and they can work now, still be able to work.
Yeah.
Instead of having to go get pain pills.
Is there some sort of high associated with the kratom?
I don't get a high off of it. I might get like a boost, like a cup of coffee.
Okay.
A little stimulant.
Yeah.
But as far as groggy, I do not.
Does it cause the same sort of effect, I guess, that consuming a lot of alcohol would? That you the buzzing effect and stuff.
No, absolutely. That's one thing I like about it.
Okay. Do you drive?
Yeah.
Does it not impair your ability to drive?
Not at all.
Okay. Should there be, Dr. McClain, any restrictions on operating a motor vehicle the same way we restrict doing so if you've consumed alcohol within a certain period or have a certain blood alcohol content? Should there be some sort of regulations on that?
There's not enough data on it for me to tell you that one way or another. That's honestly research that should be done.
Okay.
I think now that this drug is becoming more and more popular in America, I mean, one of the other things that we don't really know and should learn for the benefit of patients is, are there interactions between this drug and other drugs? Sure. There's plenty to learn about this substance, but if you just think about every other drug that Sherry just mentioned, whether it's opiates or alcohol or Valium, the danger profile and the harm profile of this substance does not appear to come close to any of those.
Okay. Well, because I think it's an honest and objective question. I'm with you that the government shouldn't be between a patient, a person, and their well-being if there's some sort of substance that could improve that. I mean, that's the same argument you could make for medicinal use of marijuana as well. But on the other hand, if operating a vehicle, as an example, that's probably the most prevalent example I could think of. If that could impair their ability to do so, such that they're causing a risk to others on the streets, that's something we ought to at least consider regulating, if not regulate, if we have data to prove that's the case.
Well, that's just
but you make a great point. A lot of these other medications, you would want to drive a vehicle after you take some of that stuff, pain medication.
Well, we have very clear evidence about what happens when you drive a vehicle when you have too much alcohol on board or too much Valium on board.
That's right.
The number of Kratom users in this country is probably over 2 million, and maybe even more than that. Personally, I'm unaware of, a blizzard of car accidents related to
Fair
this.
enough.
That's all I can say.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Anything else, I'm reaching, and I will not do that. But I don't disagree with you that this is the kind of information that we should get about this drug.
Okay.
And every bit of that can be done keeping it legal and accessible to adults who want to use it.
What would you do, Sherry, if the state of Mississippi completely banned this product?
Well, we're not going to let them do that. My county did actually ban for 13 months, and I was a criminal in my own home. I still took
just for simply possessing it and using it, right? Okay.
Yes. I could go to town and buy it, but to come back in my county where I live, it was illegal.
Okay.
And that hurt me. I couldn't get it mailed to me or anything, but I would have gotten in trouble. But I did continue using it because I was not going to go back to the pain pills or the alcohol. I found my life, and that's what I was going to do.
What about the cost? Is this less costly than
yes.
the pain medication?
I might spend $100 every 3 months.
$30 a month, roughly.
That's it.
Okay. Because pain medication, depending on your insurance coverage and so forth, that can be a bit expensive.
And my health is so much better. I do get my doctor knows.
Okay.
I'm straight up with my doctor.
Okay.
And I've lost about 150 pounds since
Wow.
I started. I've just got my health back. I'm not all toxic.
Feel better?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel better. I would never want to go back down to, I never wanted to be on pain medication all my life because I just didn't. Nobody does. I mean, nobody does.
Dr. McClain, are there not just a large volume of reports and studies and analyses and investigations that have in fact proven that this pain addiction has been a big problem? Addiction to pain medicine has been a big problem in America.
It's the worst problem in America, arguably. And if you look at the evolution of things over the last 12 or 14 years, and Sherry is Exhibit A, the government became concerned with prescription opioids and decided that the solution to that was to prevent doctors from practicing medicine and to tell them how many opioids they could give to people like Sherry. So then Sherry loses her prescription opioids. Well, then what happens? A desperate person who's dependent on pain medicine is going to go out on the street and find them. And they found them increasingly in the form of heroin. And so then heroin started killing people instead of OxyContin. And the government then rinsed and repeated. And the more they came down on heroin, then fentanyl appeared. Fentanyl is about 200 times more powerful than heroin. The next round of substances that are 50, 100 times more powerful than fentanyl are already appearing, because that's what happens that's what happens with prohibition of anything.
What's the downside? What's the physiological, the medical, the clinical downside of ingesting this product?
Kratom?
What are the risks?
Dependence.
Okay. What about side effects? Harm to your body in some other fashion?
Really no great data that it causes massive harm.
Okay.
In any way. And I mean, an increasing number of people like Sherry have been using this stuff for a while, and they're not showing up in hospitals with, liver problems or lung problems or anything like that. So
Gotcha.
again, Tom's going to tell on that.
Gotcha. Dr. Carr McClain, cardiovascular surgeon, Forest General Hospital. Sherry Owings, also a Kratom user, talking about how it's affected her life. Appreciate you guys coming on. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
We're coming right back, folks, in the Element Wealth studio.